Santa Claus and his elves have shown up early for us this year because what an absolute cinema we got at the Brazilian GP. We can dunk on Lando all we want, but this weekend he showed up and he's probably going to be our next champion. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about Max Verstappen, tough qualifying. Later on with the new power unit, that car turned into a rocket ship. It felt like watching Max Verstappen in 2023. At least that car was insane. Got unlucky with that 10-second penalty. We'll break that down a little later. Kimi Antonelli, he touched Senna's grave and like the powers were transferred to him without losing himself. You know, he did some crimes here and there on track, but still that performance was amazing by him after a dry patch in this history during that European tour. He did not so great, but now he's back. He's so back. I don't know what's going on with Kimi Antonelli. We'll talk about that as well. Oscar Piastri has probably lost the title, to be honest. Same with Max Verstappen. We'll break that down later. We'll look at the points, the standings, what's going on, how many points are on the table still. And then, of course, an average Ferrari weekend, double DNF, typical Ferrari. We'll talk about that as well, and you can laugh at me all you want. All right, let's start with my predictions. In my previous video, it's on record, I predicted Lando Norris to win this race with a dry race, and I predicted Max P2. Okay, he got P3. Close enough. Now, I predicted Charles Leclerc for P3. Definitely way off. Not the best weekend for Ferrari. Let's start with Lando Norris. Lando Norris, credit where it's due. Pretty much a flawless weekend this weekend. Pole, win, nailed it in qualifying, nailed it in the sprint, nailed it at the GP. I was watching the Sky Sports coverage they were doing, and they were saying that this was like a championship defining moment. And I have to agree. I mean, he wasn't my favorite for the year. I said Oscar Piastri, I thought it was going to be the champion this year. Would have been nice to also see Max get his 5th. Nothing against Lando Norris. If he wins, great for him. It doesn't change my life at all. Have a change of atmosphere here, and he deserves it. He's been very consistent all year long. Definitely more consistent than Oscar Piastri, and that's why he took the title away from Oscar Piastri. As much as me and many of you I know like Oscar Piastri and like Max Verstappen, the reality is that Lando Norris, even though, yes, he does have the better car than Max, has done a better job than his teammate this year, Oscar Piastri, who's having a rough season right now. I don't know what's going on. Piastri, it felt like he had Senna's powers for like the beginning and the middle section of the 2025 season, and then all of a sudden now he lost it, and apparently those have been transferred now to Kimi Antonelli, whatever's going on. He touched Senna's grave. If you haven't seen it, here's a picture, and then all of a sudden Kimi Antonelli turned into Ayrton Senna here in Brazil, and those powers were taken away from Gabriel Bortoleto, who had a terrible weekend here with those 2 crashes. I think it was like 57G at the second impact. I mean, terrible crash, but he walked it off like nothing. I mean, a champ, definitely a champ, took it like a champ. Sad weekend for him since he was the home hero, but I'm derailing again. Let's focus now on Oscar Piastri. Oscar Piastri, since we've been talking about him already, he seemed like the favorite just a couple of weeks ago, and now all of a sudden the championship seems like it's going away from him. It's definitely, he can see it far away. He's far away from the shore now. He's like swimming against the current here, and it just keeps getting further from him. When we look at this lead, now Oscar Piastri is at 366 points and Lando Norris is at 390. You can say, yeah, it's only 25 points, or actually 24 points. But when you look at how things were just a month or 2 ago, things are not going well for Oscar Piastri. His morale is probably not the best. We only got 3 GPs left. He might win this, but I think the way Lando Norris dominated this weekend, it was definitely like a championship defining thing. Hopefully not. Hopefully we get competition. I don't care. I really don't care which one of these 3 wins. I want to see competition. I mean, I like Max Verstappen a lot. I'm not going to hide it from you. It'd be nice if he won, but it would also be very nice if one of the McLarens won it. Of course, I got no hope for Ferrari. Ferrari double DNF, we'll talk about later. But again, it just seems like Lando is just running away with it this year, and well deserved. Now, Verstappen had an amazing comeback during the GP. Absolute cinema from him. If we had rain, I think he would have won it. He had, I mean, whatever he does in Brazil, it is always amazing. Last year was even crazier. This year, starting from the pit lane, he is one of, I think, 3 drivers in the entire history of Formula One. I think it was Nigel Mansell and who else? It was another one of like the top goats who's only done this, where he went from the pit lane to P2 at one point, and well, he ended up in P3, but regardless, it was a great drive by him. We could definitely see that huge change after changing that power unit. That car was definitely a lot more responsive. He was passing people like, I don't know, like he was racing high schoolers. It was insane what Max Verstappen was doing, but at this point, we kind of expect that out of him. It is crazy what he does in Brazil all the time. The main problem for Max is that even though he had this stellar performance in Brazil, mathematically he's still in the championship fight. But if I'm pretty much discounting Oscar Piastri at this point, you can of course do the math. Max is definitely even more out of the championship fight, in my opinion. It's just too tough. Can he do it? Probably. I mean, he could do it because he's Max Verstappen. If there's one person that can make that comeback and win this championship, I would bet more money on Max Verstappen at this point than Oscar Piastri. But it's definitely a very uphill battle with an inferior car compared to McLaren. Not that inferior anymore. I think Red Bull has definitely brought a lot of upgrades. That car is a lot better. But for sure, it'll definitely be a very uphill battle if he is going to win this year. At this point, I don't think Max will be champion, but we'll see. Let me know down below actually what you think. Do you think he can still do it? Let me know. And then we got Kimi Antonelli, who went to Senna's grave, touched that grave, got his powers, and also did some absolute cinema in Brazil. I don't know what's going on with Kimi Antonelli. He did his typical, crimes, like I said, here and there. He got a little too close to Oscar Piastri, played some bumper cars between Oscar Piastri, took out Charles Leclerc, damaged a bunch of cars on the way. Charles Leclerc ended up DNFing. Later on, also Lewis Hamilton, who was doing a side quest here and there. At some point, he was like lost trying to follow the pack with the damaged underfloor. It was like crazy. He was definitely like doing like a side mission, even though it wasn't Hamilton's best performance here. And of course, the Italian media always likes to just dunk on him and say he sucks. I have to give respect where it's due. With that type of car, the way that it was damaged, he still stayed in the race as much as he could. He tried to get to the points. That car just wasn't there for him. And then finally had to retire that car. And of course, Ferrari double DNF. So Interlagos has delivered once again, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, this has become one of my favorite races on the whole schedule, the whole season. And yes, I like Monaco. I like boring races too, but I also like fun races like this one. Interlagos was amazing. Lots of action across the track. I said, keep your eyes on Ollie Behrman, who also had a very good performance. I think that change of mentality when they get a good result definitely affects rookies a lot in a good way. We saw a very good performance for him. My driver of the day, though, was Max Verstappen. What he did was amazing. I'm not trying to take credit away from Lando Norris, who had a stellar performance, who had almost no errors here. But I think that what Max Verstappen did was just out of this world, and he does it every year now in Brazil. Now going forward, it is going to be tragic because we only got 3 races left, guys. 3 races in 1 sprint. So we technically have 25 points, and then 33 points on a sprint weekend, whatever that adds up to, 83. We got 83 points left on the calendar for grabs. So yes, technically the other 2 I'm talking about, Max and Piastri, are still in title contention, but you know what I mean? Like, it's definitely tough. To wrap it up, let's look at our driver standings now because things have changed big time now. We got Lando Norris in P1 with 390 points. I'm not going to look at the constructors because what's the point? It's been a wrap for a while. Oscar Piastri in P2 with 366, so 24 points away. Yes, there's 83 points on the line. If I did the math right, I'm not sure. And then we got Max Verstappen in P3 with 341. I think that's our only championship contenders at this point because George Russell is at 276, so he's more than 80 points away. If George Russell were to win this from 80 points away from the leader, I mean, I would probably quit watching Formula One. And that's not against George Russell. I always glaze George Russell. There's nothing against George Russell. It's just like, this is impossible. So yes, maybe we'll have some surprises with the races left on the calendar, but I'm gonna be fully honest with you. Qatar and Saudi Arabia benefit McLaren, and Vegas could be the wild card for Red Bull here, but I don't think that Max is making this comeback. Would be nice, yes, absolutely. Oscar Piastri, his morale is just, his mind is all over the place at this point. I think it's a wrap. I think it's a wrap for Lando Norris, but let me know what you think down below. I read all the comments. Unless you post something like really dumb, then I'm probably just gonna delete it. But in general, I read all my comments. Thank you so much for watching. If you're new around here, you can click right here to subscribe to my channel, and you can watch one of these 2 videos that I created just for you, where I'll be seeing you right after this one. I'll be waiting for you right there. Until next time, bye.